We're here with a whole panel today. I have my several members from my campaign team on. We're going to talk about field strategy, among other things. So I have Austin on. Austin, are you there?
Hey, Nate, how's it going?
Good. Austin, we have Austin. We have campaign chairman Jim Sharp.
Hey, how you doing tonight?
Always good, Jim. And then we have young man here, Hunter.
Howdy. How's it going?
You guys were worried I was going to screw the names up, aren't you?
How's that possible? We've been together too long for that to happen.
So listen, guys, I want to talk about where we are in the campaign and what comes next. Let's jump right in. Jim, give us an update on ballots.
Oh, ballots. Something fantastic is going to happen this year. It's been in the works for a long time. We're going to be able to actually mail in our choices for congressmen. So we're going to have absentee ballots available for anybody by just going to a link on the Board of Elections sites to actually fill in an application. And once you do so, an application can be sent to your home and you just mail it in.
So normally for those listening, you have to have a reason. There's designated reasons under the law why you can vote by absentee ballot. Now they're saying, nope, everybody, any voter can vote by absentee ballot, which was never the case in New York State before. It's not an all mail-in, it's expanding the mail-in option. Right, Jim? Is that correct?
Absolutely on the mark. Yep.
So what they're working for is to have a system where I'm hoping, and what I've asked for, is that they mail the ballots to everybody. Because usually you have to fill out an application for a ballot, then you get the ballot, then you fill out the ballot, then you send in the ballot. What I would like to see happen is everybody gets a ballot mailed to them, period. So everyone has the option. No application for the ballot. Where we are right now is almost there. It sounds like the BOE, the Board of Elections, are asking it for the very least, or trying to work towards a system where you can go to their website, fill out the application online, and then they send you the ballot, right?
Yes. This is a lot more efficient because in the past you would have to ask for the ballot, then it would be mailed to you, then you would have to fill it out, then you would have to mail that in. Then they would have to input it into their system, and then they would give out a ballot to you. This system is far more automated to the point where you just fill it out online, and the ballot actually comes to you.
So what does our president think about this? He's down on these mail-in ballots, but he votes in by mail himself.
Yeah.
So anyone want to speak about that? How about Hunter? You want to say some words about that?
So, a couple of days ago, the president was saying that, if everybody votes by mail, Republicans will never win again. And that's just, speaks to the fact that the Republican Party operates off of this idea that voting should be hard, voting shouldn't be easy. And that's not what we stand for. That's not what I stand for. And I know that's not what you stand for, Nate, that voting should be simple. And this, especially in the midst of a pandemic, makes voting incredibly easy and incredibly safe. We're not going to see any gaffes like we did in other states that were sending people to the polls in the midst of this, forcing them, even with that 6 feet apart social distancing in line, it's still dangerous. They're still all together in a crowded space. And I'm happy that we're not going to be seeing that. I'm first happy that the date got moved to June, but then also happy that.
For a second, Hunter. So for the last couple of years, or at least the president is trying to undermine our electoral system, saying that, his words, millions of people are voting illegally. In my experience, it's the opposite problem. We can't get enough people to vote. It's hard for people to even want to vote. And on top of that, the president, instead of trying to make it easier to vote, is trying to pretend we have this fraud problem and that we have to make it more difficult to vote. And the reason why he wants to do that is because he wants to discourage people from voting, and he wants to purge the voting rolls. The problem we have in this country, hear me loud and clear, everybody listening, at least 3 people are listening, Hunter, Austin, and Jim, Torin maybe. But everybody listening, The problem in our country today is not voter fraud. It isn't voter fraud. The problem in our country today is voter suppression. They're trying to kick people off the rolls. The districts are gerrymandered, so it makes it so you don't even want to vote because it seems like your vote is meaningless. And they're trying to limit alternative forms of voting. Among other ways, they're trying to repress the vote. Do you guys agree with that, Austin? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, the people in power who abuse it depend on you not voting, right? And I'm proud that in this campaign, in this party particularly, we stand for what's right, which is even when it may not help us, everybody should get their chance to vote. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen in June here with the numbers, but we're saying up front, everybody deserves to vote. Everybody deserves their voice. And that's the moral backbone that we need in a politician. That's what we need in this country. So yeah, I completely agree.
I think it was that some of the local media, the more conservative local media said, when I was asking for the vote to be delayed, they were saying, oh, McMurray doesn't want to have the vote in April. But then as soon as the vote was moved to June, the next argument was, oh, April was the date for McMurray. He blew it. Did you guys follow that at all?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
Well, that's what the paper said. It said, at first it said McMurray's trying to push the date because he doesn't want to face Jacobs in June, or April rather. And then suddenly it was like, uh-oh, McMurray's going to have to face Jacobs in June, which April was better for him. The reality is we don't know, but it was the right thing to do is to push that date.
100%.
The papers do not know what to do with a politician who is not making his decisions based on expediency. You know, we're preaching what is best for the public, and people who are used to dirty politicians like Chris Collins and Chris Jacobs don't know what to do with someone who's genuinely good at heart. So.
And furthermore, I mean, these are the same people that were trying to file lawsuits because the election was set on the same day as the presidential primary. I mean, like, there is no continuity here. It's just them trying to get a leg up on you, and it's not going to work.
I really wish more people knew what we knew and followed it the way we follow it, because it is so frustrating to be in the center of this for 3 years and to have to deal with this, I don't know, this gamesmanship and this, it's just dirty politics all the time. All right, so look, we have an opportunity here to drive the vote out by mail-in ballot. Hunter, talk to that for a second. How do we get more people to mail in their vote?
So there is in the executive order that Andrew Cuomo put out a provision to make it so that, number one, you don't need an excuse to vote absentee. And number two, there is supposed to be an electronic application for your absentee ballot. That means that, you know, traditionally what you'd have to do is print off an application, mail it in, and then you'll get your ballot back. Now you can just submit that electronically. And, you know, once we get that information, our voters will be the first to know. We'll put that out as soon as we get it. But in order to, you know, make sure that we're driving people to the polls there, making sure that their vote is being counted, Austin and I are working to make sure that on every single call that we're making, that we're asking people if they need help getting their absentee ballots.
I believe that's
right. So, and as we learn more, we're sharing it. Now, so Austin, do you have that 797979? Can you talk to people about that for a second?
Yeah, sure. So one of the new things for the 2020 McMurray campaign is that because we've increasingly been put into the digital space, we've found some new options for you to stay in touch with us and for us to stay in touch with you. So you can text McMurray to 797979. And what that does is it sends your number to us. You come onto our texting list, and we can blast out updates of things that are happening with voting, important town halls that we're having, any pertinent information that we think all our voters need to have. It goes directly to you as soon as we have it. So I don't know if Torrin has the link up on the screen, but I know it's on the holding screens. McMurray to 797979, an easy way to get updates directly from us.
Don't you find it kind of incredible that we do all these things? We're making phone calls, we're having these outreach events, and my opponent doesn't do anything just because he thinks it's in the bag, because he thinks the district has given it to him and he doesn't have to run. Isn't that troubling? Isn't that troubling to everybody out there? It's terribly troubling to me.
Terribly.
Absolutely.
Well, here's my experience: is that Democrats are the only ones that are usually fighting. We're the ones that are on the ground, knocking on doors, making phone calls, doing these events, because we know that we have to fight to earn your vote. We just don't take it for granted and expect that we're going to get it no matter what. We know we have to fight for it.
Well said. Jim, any more thoughts on this, or gentlemen, any more thoughts on this, on how people can get involved and how they can be part of the get out the vote effort? Because really the election starts now. It's election day immediately because votes are being collected right now. So anyone want to talk about that for a second?
Well, I think that on your site, you're going to have the link that goes right to the Board of Elections, so that anybody goes to your website or to your Facebook, they're going to find that link, and all they do is click on it. That's going to make it really easy for people to get to the registration window for the Board of Elections. We're making it easy that way. I mean, it's becoming the way I always wanted in elections, is that make it easy for voters to actually vote. And this is, to me, is the next step and the best step that has been put out for us. I'm looking forward to have my own absentee ballots this year. It'll be the first time I do it, and this is the first time I won't have to have an excuse to do it. So it's going to be. I think we're going to make it a lot easier for voters to actually participate.
And additionally, if you want to help us with this outreach, I've been doing trainings for the past couple of weeks, training our volunteers that we've already had when we were in our offices, as well as recruiting new ones that have just wanted to get involved now that they are spending more time at home and want something to do to kind of cure the boredom and distract themselves. So I'm doing these trainings online 4 times a day for the next week. This is probably going to be one of the last weeks that training schedule is going to be very robust. So if you want to get involved, you can email me over at hunter@votemcmurray.com, and we'll get you set up.
Hunter@votemcmurray.com. Do you want to make calls from home? Our calls are not for money. None of these guys make calls for money. They check on people. They say, "Are you doing okay?" And then for prime voters, they call them and say, "Look, do you want an absentee ballot link sent to you so you're ready to vote in the election, whether there's a pandemic or not?" You want to talk about, if you guys can email Austin or Hunter@votemcmurray.com. Now, if you want to be involved in phone calling to get out the vote, and we need you. Most of our calls are made by volunteers. And I want to say these guys have all made sacrifices to stay on this team during the pandemic, and I appreciate them greatly. And the amount of work and effort they put into this, it's humbling as a candidate to have such good people devoted to you and devoted to the election you're involved in. So that's on that front. Now, anyone want to talk about what happened in Wisconsin at all? How about Jim? Did you follow that at all?
Oh yeah, what a mess. I mean, first off, they almost jammed it down their throats to actually get out there and vote. They were told, let's back off on this, but the courts basically said, no, we're going to make them do that, and we're not going to give any extensions for absentees. And I felt that they were poorly managed across the board, especially in the environment we live in today. I know that in Erie County, they're very pledged that they will not have that happen on our watch in this county, and I'm hoping they'll stick to it. So, unfortunately, they had, I think, the worst experience, and I think they're going to have the worst outcome when it comes to the results on the election day.
Let's also be clear,
about it, Austin, that we.
Yeah, I mean, let's be clear. 5 conservative Supreme Court justices remotely voted so that everyone in Wisconsin had to go vote in person. The Supreme Court didn't show up to make this vote. They voted from home. And they said that the people of Wisconsin didn't deserve the same chance to protect their own health. This is what we're up against nationally. This is what we need. We need a fighter in Washington for. We need accountability for these conservatives who are willing to risk lives for the Dow Jones.
It's scary. I mean, what they essentially said in the middle of a pandemic, potentially go die. Go die. You saw how horrible it was, and they're lucky more people probably aren't going to die. It's scary. It is some scary stuff. Listen, I believe that the democracy in our country is hanging by a thread. I really do. And I am not reactionary. I am pretty mellow. I mean, you guys know what I'm like behind the scenes. I am not someone who's going to call for revolution or anything like that. I am the opposite. I want to find a middle ground. But this is crazy, what's happening in our country. Jim, have you ever seen anything like this?
I have not. In my 40 years, I have never seen anything like this. This is the new for me. I'm learning a whole new way of actually looking at politics. And the conversation that's going on right now is interesting.
You said you're 40 years. Sorry. Jim, you're 40 years of politics, you mean?
Yes, 40 years of politics.
There we go.
Okay, got it.
I'm only 42 years.
You have the energy of a 42-year-old, that's for sure. All right. Let's talk about how you guys feel about the virus. Are you guys afraid? What are you worried? What are you thinking about? You okay?
So I'm fine. I think we were calculating it earlier and we were talking as a team. Some people are on day 24. I'm personally on day 26. Also day 21 of mustache, which feels awesome. But I have been coping well. I mean, I'm lucky to live with my girlfriend at home, so I have somebody else to talk to. I'm not going crazy here. The other night, Nate, you had one of my friends on, Justin, who contracted the virus and is now recovering. That was a bit worrisome for me for a while. Just having that hit so close to home, and I'm sure anybody else who has friends or loved ones or relatives that contracted the virus feel the same way. But now it seems that I'm hoping that we're going to turn the corner on this soon, and I can only be hopeful and just continue hoping for the best.
Austin?
Go ahead, Austin.
Go ahead, Jim.
Well, as a guy that's over the age of 70, it's interesting to be a guy to be quarantined. I mean, actually being told by the governor, anybody over the age of 70 is the target market for this disease, and that must be stay at home. And I'm a guy that's involved with about 9 different committees. I'm involved with a whole lot of public programs, from youth programs all the way up to the senior programs. To be quarantined now for almost 30 days of not being able to go out has been somewhat interesting. But I will say this, I have become very familiar with Zoom and Google Meet because I'm always doing those meetings every night. I got one in the morning, I got one in the evening, going on every day. So it's been interesting to be doing and interact with folks, but not actually be in the room with them. So I'm faring well right now, but I'm assuming until they come out with a vaccine, I don't think I'm going to be moving around too much.
Yeah. Well, Jim, you're always super positive, and I think your positive demeanor is always a benefit to me whenever I talk to you. Austin, how about you? What are you feeling?
I mean, I'm doing well myself. If I get it, I'll bounce back. But there are folks in my life that I'm worried about. I worry about Jim. I do. We haven't known each other too long, but I wouldn't want you getting sick, Jim. I worry about my grandfather down in Florida, which has been completely mismanaged, the response from their governor. So, I worry about the folks who might not bounce back without young blood like mine. But hopefully, we can get through this. Hopefully, we will come through with some better social changes. Maybe we don't shake hands anymore. I'd be okay with that. I like the elbow bump. Maybe we learn some things from this and put them into action.
Listen, I am always optimistic. I think we can always get through things and things can get better. But we have to be involved. We can't just take that for granted. I think this can be a defining moment for America in a good way. I think this can be our greatest hour if we want it to be. I think we are seeing that our culture and our country is unwoven. And I mean that literally. We are not woven together. We have gated communities miles away from just pockets of deep, deep poverty, generational poverty. And we think it's okay. We have millions and millions of people without any access to health care. We have dying civic organizations, just a dying understanding of what the common good is. And I've told you guys before, I really believe we're off from a value perspective. I think the values of the 1980s were about greed. Greed is good. Golden Rolexes. Get what you can get while you can get it. Don't pay your workers. Declare bankruptcy multiple times and run for president and say you're a great business person. I think the greed that America had for such a long time and the materialism is not the true America. America is a country where we believe in the common good. Just like it says in our founding documents, to form a more perfect union. And I hope when we get through this, we'll be a more united States, truly united. And we have to fight for it. And if we don't fight for it, I'll tell you what's going to happen on the other side of this. There will be more inequality. There will be more injustice. And trust me, I read an editorial this morning that was all about how the coronavirus spelled the destruction of Bernie Sanders' crazy ideas because we realized that his hatred for everything that's America is wrong. So there's a whole other side that's trying to manipulate this moment for their benefit. Whether that's, I'll hear your thoughts in a second. Whether that comes from businesses that are not small, using high-powered attorneys to take advantage of small business loans that are in the stimulus, or Trump himself removing oversight over trillions of dollars. This is a make or break moment for the country that we want to have, and we have to fight for it.
Yeah, 100%.
Go ahead, anybody?
I think that this virus, and I was having a conversation with one of our volunteers yesterday about this, is a point in time where we can, like you said, go one of two ways. In the way that I want, and I know that you want, Nate, is the way of Medicare for all, is universal basic income, is providing for those that are most vulnerable so we don't end up in a position like this again. And I come from a family that is a long list of small business owners and that aren't getting the assistance that they need while I'm watching corporations get the assistance that, frankly, they don't need. It baffles me that working people in this country now are left to suffer while there are billionaires posting videos of themselves on their yachts in the middle of the Caribbean right now saying, "This is my isolation from quarantine." I'm stuck in a 2-bedroom apartment right now in Rochester. The disconnect.
I'm worried about the people who literally have no food already, that have never been in a food line, that suddenly are having to figure out ways to pay, to provide for their children basic necessities.
Right.
While those guys are bragging about, the pain of having to be stuck in the house with their wife for a few weeks, as you saw that one tweet, that one CEO. Austin, what are your thoughts?
I mean, the thing that really hits me is we're reaching almost, 17 million Americans applying for unemployment. You know, when I ran last year, I had a lot of folks who came to me and said, you know, the people on unemployment are a drain on the system. They've got to be cut. You know, and now many of those folks are finding themselves in the breadlines. They're finding themselves, you know, calling unemployment 30 times every hour just trying to get through to someone. I think and I hope that as we come out of this, we will see a large-scale revaluation of the labor force. I mean, right now we've got clerks at Aldi's not making a living wage, but they're some of the people most susceptible at this point. We've got nurses who are working 14-hour shifts who aren't able to you know, get groceries at the end of the day. And I'm pretty sure that most every parent who's had to teach their child for the last several weeks would be willing to give every public school teacher $1 million a day, right? So I hope that we will learn from this. I hope that we will think about what the work people do is worth. And I hope we'll decide that no matter where you are on the economic chain, you deserve a good standard of living. You deserve a living wage. And I hope we'll come out of it as a stronger country, not only economically, but I think that bolsters us socially as well.
Well, it bolsters our overall economy. If we have people who are able to contribute and not just survive,
absolutely,
you'll see a better economy. Not a better stock market. I'm talking about a better economy where more people have a chance. The other thing I'll say about it is this, and I want to go to Jim. Well, let me just go to Jim. Jim, what are your thoughts before I go too much farther?
Well, I'm hoping for all the things that our young people have just talked about. But the one thing that bothers me the most is when we have a president getting up and saying that, oh, yeah, it's all set. You can go down and get that small loan for your small business, and you're all set. That money's right there for you to pick up. And then the banks come back and say, sorry, but you haven't put out the criteria yet for us to release the money. That, to me, is very bothersome because they're giving a false impression that they're all set to rock and roll, and then they're far from it. So they're poorly executing everything right now, and it's really disturbing. But we really need it. Unfortunately, the money is going to people where it should. Unfortunately, the big businesses have an unbridled fund they can dip into. So to me, I'm hoping for the best, but right now I don't think it's being dealt out fairly and equally.
Well, I mean, yeah, I would have to agree with you. I think that, well, one thing I will say is it's funny how much the argument has already moved. Because a few weeks ago in America, no one was talking about, if I would have said, hey, we should give checks to people who are unemployed so they can make it through the summer. People would have said, oh, you're only for handouts. All Democrats want to do is give away money. But now you see the Republicans working hard to get those checks cut. I read an article today. It said we're all socialists now. And look at you guys, you know, I'm not a socialist. I'm someone who believes in a social safety net in the spirit of Social Security. I'm someone who believes in a capitalist market or the use of markets that are structured to help all people and make sure all people have a chance to survive. But I believe we need a society where everyone has a chance to develop their talents and skills and contribute. And we just haven't had that for a long, long time. And if we come out of this weaker, with less opportunity for regular people, it'll be criminal. And that's what happened in 2008. We barely survived 2008, and the country got markedly worse after 2008. Not better, worse for regular people. And we have to make sure that doesn't happen again, because when we do get through this, whether it's in 6 months or a year or 14 months when they get a vaccine, we got to make sure that it's the country we want to be in and the country that serves the interests of the general welfare and the common good, not the most elite and powerful.
Yes.
All right. Listen, I'm ranting on you guys, but listen, anything else you want to share? Anything that you think that people should be aware of about the campaign or about, we talked about getting involved, how making phone calls from home, absentee ballots. Anything you want to share about what's happening in the world or just your thoughts in general? Go ahead, Austin. Why don't you go first?
Yeah, well, one of the shout outs I want to do, our super caller for this last week was Kathy Evans. I don't know if she's watching tonight, but Kathy, we love you first and foremost. You made 370 calls for us last week, which is amazing. We could not have the numbers that we're hitting without callers like Kathy. So big shout out to her. Thank you so much.
Where's
And
Kathy
to
live?
everybody. I'm not sure where Kathy lives. Hunter, do you know?
Not
It's
off the
okay. Maybe she just want the world to know.
Yeah, that's probably a good point. But Kathy, thank you so much. And to anybody who made calls last week or in the weeks previously, thank you so much. Please keep helping us out. Kathy and callers like her know that we're just checking in on folks. We're making sure that they're okay, making sure that they're going to be able to vote in the June 23rd election. So I think, Hunter, you've got some exciting numbers about where we're at in terms of calls for the campaign, right?
Yeah. So since February, we've made 35,000 dials. We,
Crazy.
by the end of this month, are on track to hit 60,000 dials. And that's because over the past couple of weeks,
Phone calls.
60,000 individual phone calls. And that is because in the past 2 weeks, we've had 42 people get trained. We've had 42 new people join this campaign and make calls from home, whether that's just dialing one call or dialing 100, you know?
It's awesome.
So we have momentum. And my very ambitious goal, and this is what I've said in all of my volunteer emails that I've sent out today, all of my text messages, all of my phone calls, I want to double that this month. Let's get 80 people trained in the next 2 weeks. Let's keep it going. Let's get this momentum straight forward into June, because like Nate said, we're not just in a period of time right now where we're 70 odd days out from the election. No, this is get out the vote every day until June 23rd. So the more people that we have, right now checking in on people, making sure they're okay, getting them the resources that they need to survive, getting them the resources that they need about the election, getting them their absentee ballot, we're going to win if we can continue on the trajectory that we're on.
Love your spirit. I love your energy. I love your passion. I'm thankful for all those making calls at home. Jim, any thoughts?
We only win this race by one way, and that's people actually voting. I mean, nobody should look back and say, "Oh, he's got it in the bag. Oh, this is all set." That's the worst mindset you might have in this race. You need to say every single vote counts, every person counts, and this is a great opportunity to make a statement in our country, especially in the 27th. Give the people the 27th somebody that will represent them, which they've been absent of representation for nearly 3 years, if not talking to time that the guy before him was indicted and was crippled from actually participating in committees. This district deserves representation.
And Jim, if anyone thinks this guy I'm running against can represent them, someone with $70 million in assets and a family that has private jets, a fleet of private jets, does he really represent the people of this district?
No.
I mean, no, he does not.
No.
I represent you guys. I'm someone who's had financial struggles myself. I'm someone who has, I've gone through, and my team has too. We're regular people. And regular people usually don't go to Congress. I understand that. But maybe they should. And we're going to try to make it that the case. And when I win, I'm going to continue to be as open and available as I am now. Beyond that, I want to say to everyone listening that if we do win, it will not just have an impact in NY27. It'll have an impact for the entire country, because this is the last major federal election until November. So when we win, and if we can hold the seat, it'll have a major impact. I keep telling my team it's going to be like a giant rock. It's going to have ripples that touch every part of the pond. Conversely, if Trump wins, he'll have something to crow about. He'll have another sycophant to work for him in Congress, another multi-millionaire that will do his bidding. And I don't want to give President Trump a feather in his cap right now. He does not deserve that benefit. He backed Chris Collins. It looks like he might want to pardon him. He has neglected this district the same way the people that kiss up to him have. And we need to have real leadership in this district. Guys, one more thing, something fun. Give a recommendation on what you're watching for all those home quarantine. What kind of movie you watching, Jim? Anything you want to recommend? Any TV show? Jim, you're more up on this stuff than I am. Go ahead.
I'm not watching anything of interest. I'm just watching, like everybody else, I'm watching the briefings. I really like what is going on with our governor, and I feel that he stepped up. He's more presidential than the guy that's actually trying to be presidential. And I think our county is staying on top of it too. So I'm pretty much stuck to either reading or working on my projects. But
no
not much
Netflix or anything like that, Jim?
Huh?
No Netflix.
Oh, I'm not doing any Netflix right now. I'm holding off. I need to like have that come in at the later date as we go forward.
Austin, how about you? I know you work like 24 hours a day, but anything that's fun you want to share about what you're watching on TV while you're stuck at home?
Yeah, there's two things that I'm really into right now. One is an NBC show called Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist. It's got a lot of good music in it, and my girlfriend introduced me to that. I'm also reading Bill Nye's memoir, Everything All at Once. It's a fantastic read, really relaxing, and just a really amazing man to get to know.
You seem like a Bill Nye fan.
Well, he's also a Cornell grad. Everyone who's good is, so.
Oh, wow, that bias.
You should get fantastic or fantabulous playlist. I'll give you a playlist that'll blow your mind, Austin.
I have no doubt that it would.
Hunter, what are you watching, or what's up? What's any recommendations for the people at home?
So I have been, I have, of course, when it came out, finished all of Tiger King almost instantly.
Oh, you're kidding.
And I'm waiting on that lost episode. I am not obviously picking sides in that battle. I think they're all weirdos. But at the same time, I could not peel my eyes away from the screen for a single second of that show. In addition to that, I've tried to start picking up books again. I'm reading right now A People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn. It's a great read for I think any young person that is like recently out of the high school, college aspect of what our history was, and taking a deeper look at it and hearing from the people that had it happen to them instead of experience it themselves.
Look, I'm not reading this. I read this several years ago, but I loved it. It's on my desk for people at home. I loved it. Saving Capitalism. It's a great book. But what I'm reading right now,
Great.
It's a little bit heavy, I'll admit, but it's The Great Divide. It's about 10, 15 years old, but it's got some good. It shows the framework of where we're coming to right now and how our country got to where it is, and it's a lot of it's still very, very relevant. But I want to give my recommendations. Can I?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Well, I watch a lot of kids shows, which is horrible, but I do it. But I do. As soon as this is over, I'll go watch a kids show with them right now, which will probably be something we saw 1,000 times already. But I also watched The Tiger King. Do you want to hear my thoughts or no? Or is this not fit for prime time?
I haven't watched it. I've been listening to the commentary about this, and some people are saying it's absolutely horrible. Other people are saying, "Oh, it's a must-see." So I'm interested what you got to say.
It's both.
Sam, I don't listen. Many people hate it because they think it's glorifying bad behavior, whether it's animal cruelty or sexism, and I can understand that point of view. I watched it from a perspective of just being shocked by what's happening in our country, and I mean, from just a human nature perspective, it is a fascinating thing. I can't believe these people exist. And I think it's why a lot of people watched it. I will say he's clearly a troubled human being with some serious character flaws, but it's hard not to find him somewhat compelling. Joe, I mean, it's hard to keep your eyes off of him. And because he's such a mix of emotions, right? He's a horrible manipulator, but he does have some kindness in him, and there's some things that he's gone through in his life that are compelling. So I watched it. I can't really recommend it, but I also can't say it wasn't thoroughly entertaining to watch. So that's my take. Anyone agree or disagree?
Oh, 100% agree. I'm not going to say you need to watch it, but if, like you said, it is just like the amount of characters in that and the depth or lack thereof is a compelling thing to watch. It's something that you really can't take your eyes off of. It's like rubbernecking a car crash.
And whether he sang those songs or not,
beautiful.
Whoever sang those songs has got an excellent voice.
And those were amazing.
I wish they were on iTunes. I would download that home. This old town. What is that song? We're out. I guess, Austin, you didn't watch it, did you?
I have no idea what you're
No
talking about.
spoilers. No spoilers.
Don't worry about it.
I guess we gotta take a peek.
Oh, wait. We have some real questions tonight. Torin, go ahead. Ask the questions. I'm sorry. I was wasting time there.
No worries. First question comes from Twitch. What will you do for stand-up workers and tipped wage employees once you're elected? And maybe you guys can talk about how folks like that are navigating the current economic situation.
Well, first of all, everyone in my campaign has been either a tip work employee or in the service industry, including Jim. Every one of us has had experience in that realm, and we get it. I don't think Chris, my opponent, has ever had experience in that realm. We all have. We understand what that's like. Some of us very, very recently, as in like a couple months ago. So I think number one, when we think about that part of the economy or the gig economy, that is a huge part of the economy that's not even included in these unemployment figures. And, that's why I've been supportive of some form of a UBI for a long time, because there's a lot of people that aren't covered by traditional unemployment insurance, who aren't covered by any type of liability when they lose their jobs or the shift ends or the gig ends. So I think for first and foremost, those people should be getting a check to get them through this pandemic. And by the way, I'm not for one check. I think the government has to supplement income until we figure out a way to get our economy back on track. And maybe indefinitely at least we can test it out for a certain part of the population. Now, go ahead, Hunter and Austin. I see you guys want to get in.
So my standard for how we're treating freelancers, tipped workers, gig workers, etc., is Germany. Germany built into their stimulus or their response plan, whatever you want to call it, a 5,000 euro stipend to all of their freelancers. And all you had to prove is that you are losing work due to the coronavirus, whether that's a flyer for a lost show or a canceled gallery opening or something like that. That's how we should be treating, the people that work in industries like that, because whether you like it or not, gig workers, bartenders, artists, they are workers too. And we need to stand up for them just like we stand up for every other worker in this country.
Well, it's a huge part of the economy. It's a huge part of the economy that's undervalued and underrespected. And yeah, I agree. If you haven't thought about UBI, I'll be honest, the first time I ever heard about UBI was right here. This book, Utopia for Realists. And I thought, wow. It kind of was mind-blowing the way he laid it out. And then I read subsequent work by him. And it's something that we need to consider in a modern age of automation and changes to our economic structure. And the fact that we can't even talk about these issues because people dumb it down to you're a socialist or it's so black and white. We can't have intellectual, productive commentary or comments about different ways to make sure our people are safe. It's so aggravating. It's so dumb. Simply, it's just dumb the way we talk about these things and the way we avoid real conversations. But to the people on Twitch or the person on Twitch who asked about that, we have to figure out a way to supplement your income while we get through this. That's as simple as that. And if you look at the plan I put together a plan that I thought that we should do for the stimulus. You can go online and find it. And I'll say one more thing about it. We don't blink an eye at bailing out banks or Boeing or any other corporation. We need to look at our people the same way and realize that sometimes people need help to get through tough times. Go ahead, Austin.
Two very quick things on top of that. I mean, we also need to long-term reform our tax code so that large corporations like Uber and Lyft can't abuse the tax code and their workers by deeming them, independent contractors when they're very clearly employees of the parent company. But two, we need to allow these workers to unionize. Collectively, they're so much stronger against those out-of-touch CEOs that take too much of their workers' pay. If they're unionized, they're able to fight back. They're able to stand up and demand equality and good treatment in the workplace. So that's something we definitely need to work for long term.
We think about it like the CEO pay has gone up 1,000% in the last 30 years, something like that. And the average CEO makes, I don't know how many hundreds of times more than the average employee now. It's common sense. Maybe you should make more, but not 1,000 times more than your employees. It's common sense. In kindergarten, you're taught to share. Any other questions out there, Torin? If we don't, we're good.
Question for folks who have already requested or received.
Torin, you're gone?
I was muted on Skype. Question for folks who have already requested or received an absentee ballot. Do they need to reapply? But more importantly, what resources are we going to have available for them to guide them through this process?
I would say yes, reapply. It's better to vote again than have your vote not counted. We don't know. So yes, reapply. That old election is not happening, so we have to assume there's a new election.
Yes.
So reapply, get your ballot, vote again. If you voted, your vote is probably not going to be counted because April 28th was not an election. So reapply and get your vote again. The resources we have is, as soon as we get the link that you can download the application form, we'll send it to you. But you're going to have to fill out your application and get your ballot again. And that's a pain. We mail people applications. So we're also, we have to change. You need to change with us. Commentary from the guys?
And also to make certain understanding that even if you reapply, it doesn't mean that you're going to get two ballots because the system is rigged so that a ballot is attached to a voter. And therefore, it isn't going to be a duplication of services. You're not going to get two ballots. There's no way of cheating the system. So just reapplying, you can't be hurt. You can't be hurt by it.
Yeah.
I mean, all the questions that voters have right now are important questions, and sometimes even the state doesn't have answers right at this second, right? So folks just stay calm for right now. We know we're trying our best to get all of the answers as quickly as possible. We want to make sure that we do this in the right way, that no one misses a step or anything like that. So just stay patient with us. We're getting the answers as fast as possible, and the minute that we have them, they will be out on social media. They'll be in your inbox. If you subscribe for texting, they'll be in your on your phone. We will get the answers to you when we have them, but we don't have all the answers yet.
Well said. Okay, any other questions, Torin?
Maybe that's a good reason for folks to sign up for our text. 7979 sign.
Text the word McMurray to 797979.
And, go ahead.
Not McFree or Murray or all the other things people call me, Mick Murray. So often I get called Nick McCurry. I mean, constantly when I'm out there. People,
well, sometimes I get called Austin.
Oh, no.
I usually get called late.
One last question from Tesso on Twitch. Just wants to know a little bit more about our challenger. They know that he's.
Yeah, I'll be happy to talk about him.
Sure.
And Tesso, hey Tesso, thanks for watching on Twitch. We might do we're gonna try to do a gaming night on Twitch one of these times. I'm not a gamer, but we're gonna try for the people on Twitch. What can I say? I mean, he was once upon a time if not a Democrat, at least a Democrat in action. He was a moderate Republican who suddenly became an arch super conservative to get this nomination for political reasons, basically because he thought it was in his interest to do so. And he is suddenly, because he wants to win, winning at all costs. And he is going around saying that he's a pro-Trump man and he loves Trump. All his commercials are about how much he loves Trump. His background is he's been a career politician. He started in the school board. He went to the comptroller and the state senate. He's from one of the most wealthy families in America. He will be the wealthiest congressman, if not the most, or one of the most wealthy congressmen. And it's not self-made; it's inherited from his family. Unfortunately, he's a clone of a lot of people we've seen across the country. Overly ambitious, will do anything to win, from a very wealthy family, fulfilling his family's wishes. Will say or do anything his consultants tell him, whether he believes it or not. And I think that's pretty much universally accepted across Western New York, not just by Democrats, by Republicans. I think some of the people most disappointed by him are Republicans. I mean, there's a website put out by a conservative think tank that says never Jacobs NY27 because they know he's a fake. And he has two Republican challengers. I think his base traditionally was moderate Democrats and Republicans who lived in Erie County. Now that base is gone because they've seen his commercials and how outrageous his commercials are. I have talked to dozens of people who are wealthy people who are friends with his wealthy family who've told me they're shocked by the way he's acting and the person he's become. He's not providing any solutions. He has no record to speak of. His record is atrocious, the record that he does have. His voting record, one of the richest people in America who voted for his own pay raise to make him one of the most wealthy legislators in the country. I mean, literally, he voted for his own pay raise when he's worth up to $70 million. He voted against COVID sick pay. Numerous times he voted in things that are arguably conflicts of interest with his family's company that would have supported his family's company, including the expansion of gaming rights in certain locations. So, which his family owns casinos, 2 casinos in NY27. So he's someone who is from extreme privilege, who used that privilege to expand his power, his network of power, but really has very little to show for it. And at this point, his number one achievement as a political servant or a public servant is flip-flopping to say he loves President Trump. I'm pretty sure that's what he's going to be known for. And it's a little bit tragic, but I'm not responsible for his actions or his behavior. He is. And I'm terribly troubled by it, but it's what he decided to do with his life.
Good point.
Any thoughts from anybody else? Does that cover it? I mean, I was brutally honest, but I think we have to.
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right, Nate. When I was working in the state Senate in 2018, there were a good number of Republican senators that I respected because they had morals and principles and they stood by them. But Jacobs was not among them. When a tough vote was coming up, you could always see him heading for the door. And so, the kind of wishy-washy, I'm a moderate when it suits me, but I'm a Trump lover when I'm running for Congress. It just shows a very foundational lack of a moral backbone. And I think to most people, that's just gross to see. You want to see someone stand up for what they believe in, even if you don't believe in it yourself. And that's not Chris Jacobs.
I mean, there was numerous times where I was a local leader, and listen, I'll speak openly about it, like the Tonawanda Coke issue. When I was looking for help for Tonawanda Coke, he was nowhere to be found. until Tonawanda closed, and then he had a press conference at the courthouse. Or the cashless toll issue. You know, one time I was fighting for tolling changes on Grand Island, and one time we invited him to a press conference because it was starting to get some political traction. And I would invite everybody, you know, because I wanted to get more people on our side, and I was a new congressman. And Jim probably remembers this.
Oh, yeah.
His people denied. They said, no, we're not interested in coming. I said, all right, it's fine. And they hosted their own press conference on the other side of the bridge.
Exactly.
Like stuff like that. He doesn't have a mind. And I would say to Jim, is this guy brain dead? Or, I mean, what's wrong with him? Like, he really, I have a strong feeling he has no firm convictions in either way. And I'm not afraid to talk about it because my convictions are as solid as granite. I'll talk about it all day long. I believe what I believe. If you don't like me, don't vote for me. But I'm going to say what I believe. I don't know why you'd want to go to Congress to fight for things you don't really care about. Unless you were going there to fight for things that you're not really telling us about.
Yeah. Jim, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'm just going to say, just echo something that Austin said, right? I will respect you if I don't agree with you, so long as you have convictions and you can stand by what you say. If you can't do that, all respect I have for you has gone out the door. Like, I have been a lifelong, Democrat, leftist, whatever you want to call it, and I can still, respect those that I disagree with, so long as they hold their opinions as their own.
So I don't know these two people very well, and I can't speak of their character, but they seem nice to me, though. I mean, well, at least one of them does, really. But I ran into his primary challengers, and I don't believe in anything they believe in. But we had a hilarious conversation because they're shocked by Jacobs. They're like, and listen, if you're saying something that I'm lying about, tell me, because I can listen. There's a lot of people in the room when you were saying what you were saying. They're like, this guy doesn't believe in anything. At least, Nate, we know what you believe. We may not agree with you, but essentially they said the same thing you said, Austin. They're like, we can respect someone who is true to what they believe in if it's different than us, as long as it's true. But we don't respect Jacobs because we know he's a liar. And after so many years of liars, Chris Lee, let's go back. Chris Lee, guys, for those watching. Chris Lee was a Republican, rich Republican from a very wealthy Erie County family. Resigned in disgrace for trying to find women on Craigslist with his shirt off. Which what you can think about that what you want, but he resigned. The second guy was Chris Collins, where everybody knew he was guilty. The House Ethics Committee said this guy's a crook, and there was videotape of him online illegally selling stock at the White House, and everyone told me innocent until proven guilty, forget it, no. Well, now you have your third rich Chris. Are you going to make the same mistake again? And I really hope not, because I care about this place as much as any place in the world, and I don't want it to be represented by fools anymore. So, I'll keep fighting for it. Torrin, any more thoughts, any other ideas? All right, guys, thank you. I'm sorry to talk so long tonight. We're not doing any of this weekend. It's Easter Sunday. If Passover for people this week as well. If you be with your family, be safe. I have a big powwow with Nicole, campaign manager, and Amanda for finance tomorrow morning to look where we are with finances. But beyond that, guys, I'm taking Easter Sunday off, and I want you guys to do the same. Okay? At least I want you to be with your families, and I want you to rest up. Okay?
Will do. With you.
All right. Take care, guys. Bye.